Hello, subscribers to this video channel, this YouTube channel, and students for this video lecture series on nursing informatics. We are going to present or discuss some topics related to or concepts related to the topics evolution of computers, computer power and speed, and also a brief discussion or presentation on network hardware. So let's start. Okay, so evolution of computers. I know with your foundation with ICT subject or subjects related to computers, this was already presented to you. So this will only be a very brief discussion compared to your foundations. And this will help you review it or remember it. And your foundations will help you to learn easily from these different discussions. Okay, so first, as you have already learned, the first types of computers are the supercomputers. I'm already talking about the modern age computers. Okay, I know some of you will remember Abacus and the rest, and I'll start with supercomputers. Okay, so this is considered to be the largest type of computer, and it was first developed by Seymour and Cray in 1972, and this is the early supercomputer related to research and development and also production. And as the name implies, supercomputers, they are also big in sizes and in cost. Okay, so these are huge and expensive computers. Um, a supercomputer is a computation-oriented computer, specially designed for scientific applications that requires huge amounts of calculations, which to be useful must be processed also super fast in super fast speeds. Okay, and this supercomputer is capable of that characteristic, super fast. Okay, it is truly a world-class computer based on our references, and it is designed primarily for analysis of scientific and engineering problems and for tasks requiring millions and millions or billions of operations and calculations. And again, this is primarily used, especially in the US, in such work as defense and weaponry. Others also in weather forecasting, advanced engineering and physics, and other related scientific research applications. Um, this has a high performing computing and communication capacity or capability. Okay. Second are the mainframes. Okay, this is the most common fast, large and expensive type of computer used in large businesses for processing, storing, and retrieval of data. And these are large multi-user central computers that meets the computing needs that are large and medium-sized public and private organizations. And um, it is usually used in hospitals, in our course, hospitals and other large healthcare facilities, again for processing, storing, and retrieving data. It is a large multi-user, as we have mentioned, on public and private organizations, institutions. And mainframes are also used for processing the large amount of calculations which are usually or routinely done. Uh, they usually administrative in nature, like billing of patients' expenses, payrolls for staff, inventory for the equipment, and other business operations. Okay, and the machines and software that process transactions in high volume businesses are known as the TPS or transaction processing systems, Okay, speaking of systems or computer systems, there are a lot of systems. Right? It depends on the purpose. It depends on the department. Okay, so some of these systems are going to be introduced also to this playlist on nursing informatics. Mainframes always have a very high processing speed, and usually it calculates in millions of processes per second, or MPIS, okay, million processors per second, in floating point operations per second, or flops. Okay, so these mainframes prior to 2000, year 2000s, or year 2000, mainframes were often defined almost entirely by the high processing speed. Okay, so these are their um, what's this? Characteristic, known to be characteristics, very fast, or it's speed, not only fast. Okay. Um, Today's mainframes are more defined by the following characteristics. They are extensive. They have extensive input and output capabilities to support multi-users and multi-user environment. They are also having a very good complex engineering. This is to support long-term stability with high reliability, and this allows machines to run uninterrupted for decades. Okay? So when we are talking about decades, we're talking about huge, gigantic amounts of data, and with this number of data, you need to compensate it, or to partner it with speed. Okay, and that's the capability of mainframes. Their ability to process massive data throughout needed high volume business transactions and business operations also. So they are known for that. And a mainframe is capable of processing and accessing billions of gigabytes, okay, of data or calculations per second. Okay, so that is mainframes, and there are also mainframes that are wireless and telephone linkages into the computer, so that it can perform remotely. Okay, and um, as compared with a desktop or a PC, mainframe has an extremely large memory capacity. It has fast operating and processing time, and it can also process large number of functions at one time. Okay? And mainframes can also serve as a large number of users at the same time, usually thousands of users at the same time. In according to our reference, in some settings, hundreds of workstations are wired directly to a mainframe for processing and communication purposes, and the speeds are faster than can be achieved by a wireless communication. So there are at some points that the wired ones are still better than the wireless communications, and we're talking about mainframes here, which it really has a very good um, uh, characteristic of being fast, or having that speed at a high volume information or data. Then we have microcomputers, or also known as personal computers, or PCs. These are uh, what's this? Much smaller computers, and also essential part of healthcare computing system. So since of course the supercomputers are large, and also mainframes, speaking of size, is still larger than PCs. PCs are usually used in workstations. Okay, these are the computers that are also serving as like frontliners. Okay, uh, these are wired computers also. Okay, and these computers are designed to support a single user. These are is also called your microcomputers or personal computers, as I've mentioned. This is much smaller, less powerful than mainframe, and this is designed to be used by one person at a time. And microcomputers are also found in educational settings, in research settings, where they are used to conduct a number or a multitude of educational and scientific functions. Okay? Desktops are also replacing many of the mainframe attributes. Okay? Um, in addition, desktops can serve as standalone workstations, as I have mentioned in the previous slide, and can be linked to a network to increase their capabilities. Okay? This is advantageous since software multi-user licensing fees are usually less expensive per user than having each user purchase his or her own copy. Okay, so one computer, one license for the team, but they can use it one user only at a time. Okay, computer size is has steadily decreased. So it meaning it became smaller also since the invention of this computer. At the same time, though the size went smaller, the power has grown exponentially. Okay, I know most of you are who are viewing this video lecture series are also aware of the differences, are also aware of the differences in power, in memory capacity of these computers. Okay, and usually that's one of the things that a buyer would ask, right? In or would try to look, okay, into what computer he or she will buy. Okay, and the components of a desktop computer are typically housed in a hard case, while the size of the case can vary. And one common size is about maybe based from our references are usually 2 feet, 2 feet long, and 2 by 6. Right? So it differs in sizes. Microcomputers are also available as portable or laptop computers, and what's this um, as notebook. Okay, netbook before if you have encountered that. We have laptop, notebook, tablet also, and handheld computers. Laptop computers are usually highly portable, and I know most of people use laptops because of this characteristic, and they are much smaller than the standard desktop. Okay, and many are less than in size also, and lighter. Okay, in weight. Um, what else? Notebook computers are even smaller. Um, there, if you have encountered this, these were also called netbooks before. Usually, those sizes are same with our short paper, bond paper. Okay, the letter size bond papers. Okay, so like 8.5 by 11 inches. Okay, and also tablet computers are smaller. Okay, this can be considered also as a handheld computer. Okay, and this is again smaller, so about 7 inches to 7 by 8, 9 inches. Okay, then we have, speaking of handheld computers, okay, these are the samples of handheld computers. These are small, special function computers. It can though have a full functioning handheld computer. Okay, and these were introduced during the late 1990s. Some have the same functionality and processing capabilities as a laptop or notebook, or they are limited in expansion possibilities. For example, you cannot expand its power, you cannot expand its memory capacity. Okay, but their ability to serve as full participants in office network and peripherals can be possible. Okay. More popular are the palm-size computers, including your PDAs, if you are familiar with PDAs, or the personal digital assistants. Okay, I think in the later videos I have a picture of this PDA if you are not familiar, okay, with this computer, personal digital assistant. This is considered to be one of the smallest, if not the smallest, of the handheld computers. And PDA is very small. It has special functions, and this provides functions like calendar, contacts, note-taking functions, and word processings. Spreadsheets are also present. Okay, so though it's a small, it has many functionality, and it's also, of course, portable. Okay, so this is a on the top of the images, that's the sample PDA, which is also used in the healthcare. PDA originally sold as isolated devices, and today virtually all PDAs are combined with telephone functionality, and they are now known as smartphones. Okay, and smartphones right now are very common. Okay, yeah, what's this? All walks of life. Easily, most of it have at least one per household. Okay, and smartphones have replaced wristwatches because it has a clock, pocket calendar, it has a calendar, and other personal items people use to keep their lives organized. You can have notes there. You can have organizers there, and many more. Okay, many people might be more comfortable also. Okay, having this in their pockets every day, in and out of their houses. Okay, that's how smartphones are in demand. Okay, nowadays. Um, they are usually particularly useful in synchronize. They can be synchronized with other technology, meaning you can be in sync, okay, with other technologies. Okay, for example, you can be in sync with your calendar. You can be in sync with your laptop, your smartphone to your laptop, to your cloud storages, and from one smartphone to another smartphone, provided that you have the same application. Okay, so that can happen. Okay, then next we okay, these handheld computers, especially the smartphones, also provide constant connectivity and access to internet and telephone functions. Okay, especially right now that we have different kinds of data consumption or data allocation being provided as services of our chosen telecoms or telecommunication networks or your internet service providers. Okay, so these are particularly useful in that they can synchronize, okay, the presence of internet. They can synchronize with other technology, as we have mentioned, and they can automate functions. Okay, um, the processors, of course, of smartphones are smaller, way smaller than the previous computers that we have mentioned, and though Okay, these are small processors. They are still powerful for such devices, meaning they are powerful for phones. Of course, when you try to compare one smartphone, you should compare to it with the same kind of gadget or technology, smartphone to smartphone. Okay, so um, this is a very important technology right now. Okay, and some of you might be watching this video lecture series using your smartphones. Okay, what else? These are also handheld computers are also has thousands of software applications, sometimes known as apps. Okay, usually these are really developed, okay, for all platforms. Okay, many of these are considered free, and many are sold, okay, at a very low price or high price, or some parts are free, but the totality of the application, the full function of the application, the full service of the application is availed with a price. Okay, and what else? We also have here, okay, the connectivity of these computers, compatibility and incompatibility issues. Especially right now, we're talking about of numerous gadgets, numerous models, numerous applications. So communication among various hardware devices cannot be assumed. Okay, meaning there is no 100% communication between or among devices. There can be issues. There can be incompatibility issues. Um, okay, so simple um, simple computers may not be compatible with, of course, with higher end computers, or let's say the old models will not be. There is a chance that they cannot be configured already, or it is not worth it to reconfigure. Uh, a provider might even suggest you to buy the most updated or near updated units. Okay, so because of the hundreds of updates that is usually happening, okay, different computers and applications may not be compatible anymore. Okay, there may have been connectivity issues, incompatibility issues. Okay, wirings also, simple wiring incompatibilities among these machines, especially the computers, can also have problems. Okay, often computers cannot transfer data meaningfully among themselves. This makes it difficult to create a network of data, a network of record. Okay, so from one, especially from one department to another. So compatibility of connections, communication is very important, especially in a large institution, okay, like in a hospital. Um, Information stored somewhere in a facility, in a computer, okay, may not be available, may not be accessible, okay, if there is no um, connectivity, there is no compatibility, and this will greatly affect, okay, the workflow needed by the institution, as simple as getting the information of a patient to provide a very good decision making in terms of their care management. So, of course, this will affect the patient safety, the quality care, and analysis of the different data that they can generate. Okay, so connectivity is very important. connection is very important. Compatibility is very important. Okay, so and next we have, okay, different computers have different architectures, hardware configurations, and different storage schemes. Okay, so this is relatable with my discussion in the previous slide. Um, Software must be specifically designed to communicate with another program for at least two computers to communicate. Okay. Um, Systems that is not working with another computer will result to, of course, a problem. There's no compatibility, there's no communication. Okay, and the processes in your institution will also be affected. Okay, so that will not be operable. Okay, and this will also happen. These problems will arise, may arise with these issues in the institution. Okay, so again, in the end result, quality patient care, retrieval of data or use of data is hampered. Okay. Okay. Then next we have, okay, computer power and speed. Okay, which is, I think, two of the most sought um, what's that? Um, Specifications or specs of computers. Okay, power and speed. Aside from the applications installed, pre-installed, okay, in a computer or even in a smartphone. Okay, so first, computer power. So when you say computer power, of course, we will not forget bits and bytes. Okay, a bit is a unit of data in the binary numbering system, especially who for those who are familiar with computer science, okay, engineering, okay, and binary means two from let's see, is it a prefix by? Okay, so a bit can assume one of two positions. Okay, so we have bit and binary digit. Okay, a bit is an on-off switch. Okay, and usually these binary functions or binaries are um, expressed in numbers. Okay, I know this is quite challenging for us, and we have especially specialized people or persons who can really explain this, or there are people who are into this. Okay, maybe like, Steve Jobs and Bill Gates, one of the two, if not them, okay, greatest minds in terms of computers. I would say, okay, especially in the modern generation. Okay, and bits are grouped into collections of eight and then function as a unit. Okay, there are 255 different combinations of 0 and 1 in a 8 character unit. Okay, that forms the basic limit to the certain number of characters that can be directly expressed in a computer. Okay, this is really quite technical. Um, the basic character set hardwired into most PCs contain 255 characters. And of course, during the early stages of the personal computers, these codings, these bits and bytes are actually severely limited. Okay, and it's quite a challenge to produce these types of computers with limited images of the binary system. Okay, and over time, of course, the computers evolve. Even the power, okay, computer powers have evolved also. Okay, uh, these powers of computers went stronger. Okay, and we have different cards that make it powerful. Okay, for example, the sound cards, we have the video cards, okay, especially the video cards, the graphic cards, okay, especially right now that the that graphics are very important, okay, in computers. Just simple as having games in your computer. I know some of your most of you really love are really into computer games, and that's one of your pastimes in computer. And with that, you have a additional specs, okay, or spec or specification to look, or you have looked before buying your computer, okay. And the size and variety of computer functions and components is measured by how many bytes they can handle or store at one time. So that's computer power. That's basically one of the most important reasons for having this computer power. Then we have the main memory also. Okay, so first is the bits and bytes concept. The another one is memory. Okay, specifically the main memory, which includes the ROM. Okay, and the motherboard, of course. Um, this is a very large. It has a very large evolution also. It went bigger in terms of power, and compared to years ago. Okay? And as we have said, size of memory is also a very important factor in computer work, okay, in computer operations. The higher the memory, of course, the better the computer functions. Okay. Large main memory is another key measure in the power of a computer. Okay. In in throughout the years, of course, these memories have increased. Okay, and the presence of cache. Okay, if you have remembered that in our previous video lecture, CACHE, okay, the cache, the presence of cache, has also become an um, important factor in computer power. Okay, and it makes the work of the memory also easier, okay, especially for repetitive functions, okay, or frequently or routinely what's this retrieved data or functions. Okay, of course, another important selling point of a computer is the size of the hard drive, okay, that is installed in the box. Okay, the first hard drive sold for microcomputers in the 70s can store about 1,500 kilobytes. Okay, and you compare that now. Okay, 1,500 kilobytes are small, way small. Okay, uh, at that time in 1970s, home computers were not even were not sold with internal hard drives, usually external ones. Okay. And during the time also, I'm not sure if you're familiar with this, um, diskettes. Okay, diskettes were, or disk drives, sorry, disk drives were used during that time. And if you do not have a diskette, okay, if you do not have a disk drive, the computer could not work. Okay. Uh, um, these hard drives also became very demanding, or in demand, I should say, became in demand to the public, to the consumers, in such a way that they grew exponentially. They went really a boom in the market, especially the external hard drives. Okay, we're in for now. you can just plug and play it, as we term it, using your your USB ports. Okay, and at the same time, it is very portable. Okay, and during the olden times or the earlier years, these hard drives are way expensive, okay, compared to the price right now. Okay, another important selling point, as we have said, is this one. Okay, this hard drives. Okay, right now, yes, okay. In 2014, most home and laptop computers were advertised with 1 to 2 terabyte hard drives. Maybe this year that I have made this video, maybe larger than 2 terabytes. Okay, if there are right now. Okay, and we believe that hard drives will continue to increase, okay, in size. Okay, even the applications, the memories, the speed will go faster, of course. Okay, and speaking of speed, okay, the basic operations of the CPU are called cycles, and there are 4 types of cycles of operations. Okay, we have fetch, decode, execute, and store. Okay, and it takes time for the computer to perform each of these functions or cycles. The CPU speed is measured in cycles per second, okay, or CPS, which is called the clock speed of the computer. Okay, and 1 million cycle per second is called as 1 megahertz. Okay, so a billion cycles per second is called 1 gigahertz. And CPU speed is very fast because computers perform many billions of cycles per second. Okay, imagine this one as you are watching this video lecture. Your computer, okay, whatever it is, whatever type it is, it performs, okay, millions to billions of processes. Okay, your lights are on, your cameras are on, maybe your volumes are on and high speed. um, what else? Other applications are turned on. So imagine the functions, the operations, okay, happening as you use your computers. Clock speeds, like most other components, have greatly improved also over time, or speed, in other words, also have improved. Okay, so for example, in 1981, mainly the IBM PC, okay, had a clock speed of 4.77 megahertz. So that is 4.77 million cycles per second. And in 2010, okay, home computers commonly had speed of 1.8 to 3 gigahertz. Okay, so imagine the difference. In 2014, advertised computers in $1,000 range have a clock speed of 2.5 to 3 gigahertz, and meaning the higher the clock speed possessed by the computer, the faster and the powerful the computer is. Okay, so directly related. Higher clock speed, faster, sorry, higher clock speed, the faster the computer is, the powerful the computer is. Okay, though at times, okay, clock rate can be misleading also. Okay, and there are different kinds of processors, and these processors may perform different amount of work in one cycle. Okay, and a cycle in a computer may take longer than that for a specialized type of computer also. Okay, so there are different types of computers that will give you different clock speeds. Okay, but again, clock speed is a very important measure or gauge of power of a computer. Okay, so that's computer power and computer speed. Okay, so I think this is the last part of this video lecture. Network hardware. So network hardware is a set of cooperative or interconnected computers for the purpose of information interchange. And it's just like you're entering a computer shop with numerous or several number of computer units that forms a network. Okay, the networks of greatest interest include local area networks or your LAN, which I know you are familiar, wide area networks, and of course the internet. Okay, so a LAN usually supports the interconnected computer of a single company or agency. Okay, and the computers are physically located close to each other, as you can observe in a, for example, internet cafe or computer shop, and generally only members of the company, if we're talking about institutions or agencies, have legitimate access. Okay, for example, in school, you enter one faculty room, or in school, those employees, those teachers who work there are the only ones having an authority or authorized users. Okay, so what else? WANs or WANs or wide area networks support geographically dispersed facilities. For example, a chain of fast food, okay, a chain of groceries, a chain of marts, okay, and we're talking about maybe yes hundreds of computers which are geographically distributed. Okay, compared to LAN, which is um, closely located, and it's only for one agency. But this one, it is distributed in different parts of a, let's say, of a town, of a country. Okay, and a subset of WAN includes the metropolitan area networks. I'm not sure if we have it here in our place. And this usually supports and connects the many buildings of local governmental agencies or university campuses. Okay, maybe they still use, LAN, okay, for this type of agencies. Components of network hardware are the adapter, the card, the interface card, the cabling or the cables, okay, and servers. Okay. The role of hardware is to provide um, in a network. Okay, the role of hardware in a network is to provide an interconnection between computers. Okay, so this is a very important communication, okay, in terms of information of technological function, computer functions in agency or in institution. Okay, so you want to be connected to a network to perform, okay, especially during this digital age. Okay, for a computer to participate on a network, okay, speaking of to be connected, okay, it must have at least two pieces of hardware. One is the network adapter or the network interface card, okay, or also known as your circuit board, okay, computer circuit board. A network interface card is a computer circuit board that is usually installed in a computer so that it can be connected to a network. Okay, PCs and workstations on local area networks or LANs typically contains this type of part. Okay, this is specifically designed for LAN transmission, such as your Ethernet, if you're familiar with Ethernet. Okay, and um, this also provide a dedicated full-time connection to a network. Okay, your network interface card or NIC provides a dedicated full-time connection to a network, and most home and portable computers connect to internet through modems and or dial-up connection. I don't know if you have if you were already you're already aware of the presence of dial-up connections, especially during the start of internet in for example in the Philippines. Okay, during the maybe early 2000s. Okay, there are dial-up connections. Okay, now you separate it right with your telephone, home telephones, and also the modem provides a connection interface to the internet service provider, okay, or your ISPs. The oldest network interface is an Ethernet card. Okay, right now, the dial-up connection in during the early 2000s are considered to be wired. Okay, but now the modems are wireless. Okay, wireless connect network modems are used more often today, and if they are wired, they are considerably stronger, okay, than the previous types of modems. Then the second one is your communication medium or your cabling. Okay, this is the second one of the network, the important um, pieces of hardware. Okay, again, the first one is a circuit board, and the other one is the cabling, okay, or the cables. And when we talk about cable, of course, we have different factors also to consider. For example, the distance of the cable, the amount of data to transfer from one computer to another, or within the network, how often transfer is needed, and the availability of these cables. Distance, relatively short distances between or among the network, okay, are required for wireless, okay, um, um, connections or communications. Okay, for longer distances, there are fiber optics, which are common now. Okay, and satellite transmissions are also important. Okay, then amount of data transfer, large amounts of data, especially let's see, large files like videos, audios, depending how large it is, graphics rich files, yes, are best handled with cables, coaxial cables, and compressed video and through satellite connections also. The smaller, and these are usually expensive. Okay, the smaller amounts of data are best handled by wire types. Okay, wire types. Usually these are copper, or it can be fiber also. Okay, copper and optical fibers are considered to be less expensive compared to your fiber optics. Okay, and telephone lines and satellite transmissions. Then third, how often transfer is needed. Okay, coaxial works best for locally wired networks that are used constantly by a very limited number of users. Like telephone wires, they work well for relatively high usage of public networks. Okay, but are more likely to get overloaded when many users try to use the system at the same time. Okay, it's like what we experience. If there is several bulks, not only one bulk, but several bulks or population of use, okay, with the internet or with a network. So you have to strategize ways on how to to lighten, okay, the burden of the network because of the many users. Okay, consider for example the busy internet or phone lines getting clogged up. Okay, for example of calamities like typhoons. So again, this will affect, okay, communication lines. Availability refers to the cost, okay, the transmission speed, number of users, weather conditions of communication. Okay, so we end here in this video lecture series. We have tackled the different computer types, computer speed, computer power, network hardware also. So I hope you learned something. I hope after you have read your resources in the LMS, this visual lecture series have facilitated your learning or up added up to your learning. So hope to see you in the next video lecture, which is about computer softwares. Okay. Thank you for watching. God bless and be safe.